Something kind of weird happened yesterday. So the Fed chair signaled that it's ready to cut interest rates once again, to which I ask, well, wait a minute. I thought we were going through this robust economic cycle. So robust, in fact, that we were planning to raise interest rates to normal levels. But now we're going to lower them? I'm confused. Isn't that what you do during a recession or to head off a recession? So if you're wondering what the hell is really going on here and why we're getting these conflicting stories from our, quote, mainstream media, well, then that makes two of us, maybe three, because I think my guest may have the same question. Joining us now is somebody, by the way, recommended to this newscast by our viewers who said, you know, you got to book this guy. He's really smart. So we looked into it and said, hey, let's have him on. This is Dr. Dave Janda. He's a real medical doctor, by the way. And he's become a bit of a YouTube hit with his own show. It's called Operation Freedom, and we welcome him to the news with Rick Sanchez. Dr. Dave, thanks so much for being with us, sir.
Rick, thanks so much for having me part of your show. It's an honor. I followed your all your efforts over the years, and you've done a magnificent job, and you still do to this day.
That's nice of you to say. So help us understand this. Why the talk of lowering interest rates when we're being told time and time again, depending on who you turn on, that the economy is so sound? Is it sound or is it not sound?
I believe it isn't sound, and it hasn't been sound for an extended period of time, and I believe I'm not the only one. All you have to do is look back at recent history with what Donald Trump has said. I dug up a couple quotes. October 15th, 2018, my biggest threat is the Fed, because the Fed is raising rates too fast, and it's too independent. I'm an old guy, Rick.
Yeah.
In my years on planet Earth, I've never heard a president speak about an independent Fed, that being the Federal Reserve is not part of the executive, legislative, or judicial branches of the United States government. It's an independent group of bankers that got control of the money supply back in 1913. That's the first time I've ever heard a president mention about the Fed being independent. November 27th, President Trump says the Federal Reserve is a much bigger problem than China because of their interest rate policy. April 5th, quote, I personally think the Fed should drop rates. I think they really slowed us down. There's no inflation in terms of quantitative easing. It should really be quantitative easing, not quantitative tightening. And the point is, Rick, if you look at the data, just in the past 24 hours, global manufacturing index, 7-year low. China manufacturing output, 7-year low. UK retail sales crashed by the most, most on record. U.S. factory orders are the slowest since President Trump was elected, and U.S. services growth was the weakest since February 2016, and the recent ADP report as of today was also a low number as it relates to employment. The bottom line, Rick, is that the economy is not as good as the marketing has been pushing us.
Well, but Mr. Trump is the chief, the CMO, if you would allow me to say, the chief marketing officer. And let me tell you what David Stockman says, because he tends to disagree with you. He says that our debt is heading to 40 trillion. He says Mr. Trump added 500 billion in tax cuts. And he said that those tax cuts are actually putting us so much more in debt that it's really creating this problem. What do you say to somebody like, Ronald Reagan's budget director?
David Stockman's a brilliant man, and I agree. Our country right now is in $22 trillion of debt, and it's growing by at least $1 trillion every year.
Wow.
This entire, quote, expansion from 2008, this Obama recovery and the like that everybody was talking about, it was nothing more than a credit expansion. It was not the inherent underlying growth of the economy. And this is a huge problem. And frankly, I think that when President Trump was elected, I think he came to the realization, look, we're 21 trillion in debt. I think he looked at this and said, there's a number of ways we can get out of this. We can grow part of this. We can depreciate the dollar part. We can, and maybe, who knows, we might even have to look at our credit obligations and consider what we have to do there. Remember when Puerto Rico got in trouble? What did he suggest? Well, sometimes you have to renegotiate that debt, and who better to renegotiate debt than Donald Trump, because he has a track record of doing that.
But we're down to about 45 seconds. But if when the economy is really in bad shape, you have to bring down interest rates. At what point do you finally start to bring them back up again, if ever? And what does that say about the United States economy as a whole if we never can? Dave, I'm sorry, we're down to about 40 seconds on this.
Look at worldwide. We have negative interest rates worldwide, and in the way it's going, the United States is headed that way as well. This is why the gold and silver and precious metal markets have been moving the past week in an upward direction.
You're absolutely right. You know what, Dave? We want to get you back. This is a great conversation. No wonder your followers like you so much and recommended you to us. I think you make some great points. Look forward to having another conversation with you here.
Thank you again, Rick. It's been an honor.
I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.